So good evening and welcome to this Power BI session. It's on Power BI Git integration, and I'll be the one delivering this session. So let me go on. It's brought to you by your BizEdge and MHS Analytics. Your BizEdge, we are a Microsoft Excel, business intelligence, financial modeling, and also SQL and Power BI training consulting company. We've been in existence since 2014, so it's kind of like 9 years now. It's been an exciting journey to be there before the blowout of data analytics. When data analytics used to just be Access, Excel, and maybe some DB, but Access was really very big then. The landscape has changed a lot now, and it's been exciting, nothing short of exciting. So we were not there based on the hype. We've actually been there before the hype. So we'll be there when the hype is over too. And so we have a very solid way of delivering our training, ensuring that people get real value. Otherwise, we'll be out of business. And this session we hold is one of our ways of making sure that we keep helping our participants, people in our ecosystem, to keep improving, learning, and just continuous learning. MHS Analytics is our Canadian entity, so similar services we offer, though we are also launching a product which, once it's ready, would also announce, but we are launching it from the Canadian entity because we got some support from the government and some startup institutes here. So I move on. And about me, I'm the founder lead consultant for both MHS and MHS Analytics and your BizEdge. I'm a 9 times Microsoft MVP, so I'll share my LinkedIn, and if we are not connected, we can connect. Let me just get that out and share now. Then we will run straight to the demo. I'm sharing my LinkedIn. So today's session, I don't have slides because I was afraid that the demo will take a lot of time. So if slides is going to just reduce my amount of time, on the demo. So I decided, let me not waste any time on any slides. And what I've done is I've created an empty account. So what we want to do requires 3 tools, actually. It requires us coming over to Power BI itself, which if you are here, you probably don't need any training on what's Power BI, So you come to Power BI. This is an empty account. I created it this past week. So it's a good account for demo. Now you will notice that I don't have any workspace other than the default workspace, my workspace. So for us to do what we need to do, which is using Microsoft Git, no, not necessarily Microsoft, using Git integration within Power BI. We can't use it in my workspace. If I go to my workspace, if I go to workspace settings, I'm not going to have anywhere, to be able to configure Git. Okay, so that's number one. So let's fix that. So we're going to start with Power BI. There's another tool we will use, which is Azure repo. I will show us how to set that up. And then the third tool we will use is GitHub Desktop. So again, 3 tools. Let me mention them. 3 tools to configure. 3 tools to configure. I'm typing it in the chat box, so that's why. Number 1 is the Power BI service. You have to use I'll mention that when we go on. So Power BI service, Azure repos, and then GitHub Desktop. So these are the 3 tools we will use. I've put them in the chat box. I'm going to start from, in that order anyway. I'll start from the Power BI service. I've mentioned you can't use it in my workspace. I need to create a new workspace. So when I create a new workspace, I'm going to call it, I'm actually trying to try out all things Fabric related. Fabric is now the umbrella name for Power BI and a lot of other data engineering tools that you, in the whole data ecosystem or life cycle you will have to use. So Fabric, I'll call it Fabric. I'll say to demo all things Fabric. Okay, so I would say apply. Once I create a workspace, so this is a workspace, a new workspace, right? You need to, I'll go to workspace settings. You need to go to workspace settings. Now, there is something that has happened, which I will disable. Then you will see the effect. Most of us, when you create a workspace, the workspace will happen to just be a pro workspace. So let me show you what will happen if a workspace is pro. So if you say, so do you want to remove premium? You will blah, 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 blah. Anyway, let's go ahead so that you see the effect. Okay, all right. Now, if you have your workspace as a pro workspace, pro does not have that diamond icon. You know, if you go to workspace settings, yes, everything looks similar, same. If you go to Git integration, you will see this message. You need a premium license for this workspace for you to set up any Git integration, right? So I'm going to go back here and say I want to use premium per user. Okay. So I'm going to pick, this is the one I actually have. So premium per user, I'm on trial, as you can see. The trial started today in the demo I ran like 2 hours ago. Okay. So you need to put it to a premium account, premium workspace. So I say apply, I'll say continue, then something will be different. So when I come here, you will see that I'm now able to set it. I'm not able to put up the settings. So as regards these settings now, you will see that it says it requires an Azure DevOps account. And by default, it will be your same email. It will be your email address. So for you to do that, you need to go to dev.azure. So if you go to dev.azure, let me go to it. Because I have logged in, it's showing, but originally, when you don't have a dev.azure account, when you go there, dev.azure, what will happen is it will take you here. So it will ask you to, start a free account. Don't choose this, start free. So once you click start free, it's free. I've not looked into the licensing details, but everything I've been doing so far, I've not had to enable anything paid. So for me, I can confidently tell you that all of what we are doing using this Git integration, you won't need to pay you need to use a paid version of this DevOps account. So I'm not going to redo what I have done. Okay, let's say I log in anyway. Login. But in your case, you create an account, dev.azure. So create an account. At dev. Let me just copy it. Dev.azure. Dev. Make sure you use the same email. Use the same email as you use for Power BI. Okay, so I'll just put that in the chat box to ensure that. All right, so let me log in. It sent something to my authenticator. So 81, my PIN, fingerprint. So once I log in, right, for you, once you create an account, things will be empty. You're not going to have this. You will have to create new project. Then you give it a name. Maybe you call it demo, whatever you want. So once you click create a project, right? And well, this is self-explanatory. I choose private anyway. So once you create a project, that's when you have this view. So I've created a project. That's why I already have it. So the moment you have it up to this stage, you just click on the project you've created. So you will see, I don't know if you've used Azure DevOps before, but if you've used it recently, you'll find out that this is the same view in the company I consult for. We use the DevOps boards. We use this a lot for our sprint, for the agile methodology, sprints, and all of that. So you'll find out that some of you might already be familiar with these, but we're not using the boards. We're using specifically the repos. So this is Microsoft. I think it used to be Teams Foundations. So 5, 6 years ago, when I was building apps on Visual Studio, and I needed to collaborate with the developer. I was not the main developer for some of the apps, but I was always, when you don't have money but you have time, you will have to maintain the thing yourself. I still maintain the apps we built then. So it was Teams Visual Studio Teams Foundation. I think that was what it was called. But anyway, this is the new name, Azure DevOps. So there has always been GitHub and there has always been this, and then there were other ones. But this is the one that we have to use because right now, Power BI Git only handshakes with Azure DevOps. It cannot handshake with Git.com or GitHub or any other type of repo. So you have to remember that. All right. So when you've logged in, you are in repos, it will always say it is empty because what happens is when you create, let me go back here. At the beginning, when you create a new project, which is very straightforward, you're just giving it a name. And if you have the energy and you want to, you put some description. So that's all you do to create a project. So I'm not going to do it again because I can't even delete this because there must be a default project. So once you create a project, you will see all these artifacts, all these categories. So what has happened is it has created a repo with the same name as the project you have created. So there's always going to be a repo that is carrying the name of the project you have created. So the issue now is that this repo will be empty. But the good side of it is it will always be detected. So remember we were here, right? So as long as I created it using my exact email as I have on Power BI, it will be detected here. So when I come here, it will detect it, which is this, you see, Mike 08 something. So it detects that there's an organization attached to that email. It detects that I have a project, and it detects that the project has a default repo. But now I don't have any branch in it. So I have to either come here and create a branch or I create another repo. So because it's a demo and this is my default project, so I'm going to just create another repo. So I'm going to come here, see, create a new repository. I'm going to call the repository demo. Okay. So this repository, I'm going to show you something interesting. By default, it checks this README. So if I disable it, you will see what will happen. I'm going to disable it, but then you will see what will happen, and then I will come back and enable it, and you will see the difference anyway. So I'm going to disable it and say create. Once I do that, I'm getting the same type of view. Demo is empty. I don't see anything. You know, if I go to branches, there's nothing in branches. Everything is really empty, right? So I'll go back here. By the way, what that means is if I come here and let me refresh here. If I go again to workspace settings, I go to Git integration, I go here, I go here, I will notice the new repo, but I'll be having the same problem. There's no branch in it. Okay, so I will go back here. I'll go to manage repositories. I will delete it. I will recreate it, but when I recreate it, I'm going to enable that README. So I'm going to come back here. Demo. For those just joining, sorry, you missed some steps, but I'll share and you can ask me questions too. I'll share we are recording it, we'll share the video tomorrow, but you'll get a lot. You just missed only one small step, or maybe one big step. So I enable README, okay? It will tell me that automatically to be initialized with a main branch. So I'll say, yes, go ahead and create. So now what will happen is if I go to the repo, it's no longer saying empty. and I see that there's a branch, I can create new branches if I want. There's always a main branch. Main branch is what used to be called the master branch. So I'm going to go back to Power BI. So I'm go back to Power BI. I go back to this workspace that I want to enable Git on. I go to workspace settings. I go to Git. So now when I begin to pick all of these fabric, I'm going to pick demo. You will see that it shows that I have a branch called main. So I pick it. Do I want to specify this folder it should go into? I have not even created any folder. If I want a folder, then I'll come here and say I want to create a new folder, but I'm not intending to do that. So I'm not going to. I'll just tell you to use the root of the repository as it is. So I'm not making any changes here. I'm not going to enter anything here. So I'll say connect and sync. The moment I do this, you will notice that it will start showing source control. So what is it that we have done now? We have created a workspace in Power BI. We have given it premium license because this thing only works in premium license. So what I have done is I'm on a trial. I'm on a 60 days fabric trial, premium trial. Then we have come here, workspace settings, and we have hooked up the workspace to a DevOps account, which I told us all you need to do is go to dev.azure.com. If you go to dev.azure.com, it will tell you to log in if you have an account or create an account if you don't. Make sure when you are creating, you are using the same email address as you have on Power BI. And so I have created a DevOps repo, called demo. And what we have done is we have then connected this Power BI workspace to that Azure repo called the repository called demo. So this is the major part anyway. In fact, with this, like there are three things. Remember I said there are three. We're doing Power BI service, which is this. We are done with the settings on Power BI service. And we're also doing repo, Azure repo. And if you ask me, this is also done. So let's now use it. So what do I mean by use it? Let's go to Power BI. Let's publish a report as we naturally do, So I think I have a report. By the way, let me use this opportunity to share with you something interesting that I have done in case you find it useful. So I have, on my GitHub, I have created a publicly accessible repository of adventure works. So if you want to use adventures but as a package file, you can always use it. So adventure works package files repository, right? Okay, so I'm sharing that already. You can use, but you need to be aware that Power BI will not let you connect directly to it. For now, there's a restriction. Let me see if I can pull it up. I faced it and then I was surprised. Let's see, Power BI. Anyway, it's not part of what we are doing. So let me not overload us with some things that are not. Just know that for you to use this repo, okay. Power querying, okay. Yeah. So if you are using it, just know there's a restriction that your data has to be, for you to connect Power BI or Power Query to package files, your data has to be on your local file system or Azure Blob Storage or Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. So that's the only thing. That's the reason why. But they say it might be possible to connect to small files, if you use binary.buffer. But I have faced a problem when I tried connecting directly to these, these package files. So I had to push them. I had to put the package files on Azure Blob Storage. So I'm just going to open them. Or let's do the reports together. So once I've shared the link, right? This is the Azure works, adventure works, DB schema. Let me get us that. Control D, Control J, adventure works. I find this particular data set to be the most comprehensive demo data set. So if you adventure works DB schema. So with that, we can decide to, build some reports. Okay. So let me just look at time. Okay, I won't build from scratch. So let's pick the one I've built. So I've built a adventure work sales report. It's opening. So I'm going to publish these reports. Okay, I'm going to publish this report. If you think I'm not ready, if you think I need to make any changes, please let me know. So I'm going to publish this report in. It's a very small report because I'm still building it. So we'll add more features to it, and we'll see how, as I'm changing things, how the Git, source control is helping me, how we are supposed to use it in a kind of CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous deployment scenario, use case. So let's start. I have a simple report. I'm going to do what we all already know how to do. I hit publish, but I will specifically pick the Fabric workspace. I'll pick the workspace that I have created. So remember, I have created a workspace, and this is that workspace that I've set up source control. So that's the one I will pick when I'm publishing. So I'll say publish. Great. So once I go back to my workspace, you will notice something. Can you see that in addition to what we normally see, I'm seeing a Git status and I'm seeing source control. So if I click source control, it will tell me that it has noticed two changes that are here that are not on the repo. The repo is still empty. Look at the repo. It's just having that README file. So it is monitoring and noticing that I have two things here, in this Power BI service that are not on the repo, that has not been committed, right? So it's notifying me, pointing my attention with with this red two icon, right? So I'm going to say, okay, yes, I know, let's commit it, So initial publish of the adventure work sales report. So I had a note. I say, yes, please commit both files, both artifacts. So as it's doing that, right, what will happen is this will no longer be just README. I will see all of the files we have committed. Let me check. So it's done. All I need to do is just refresh here and you will see. See? So what Microsoft has done is every report is now like a solution. If you are used to software development, you will have a solution folder. And then in the solution folder, you have different artifacts that make up the project, right? So that's what they've done. So they are creating two folders. One folder for the data sets. So this has the definition of the data set. This has I don't know most of the things often. I only know the very important what's specific. I know these always have the model changes. So the tables they're using and all of the connections, I will see them here. So as you make changes to your model, they will reflect here. Then this has the reports itself, right? So you will always see the Power BI. This is the Power BI report file thing. This is what we click on to open the report anyway. And then you have the report artifact, the report, all the things I've used. I've used only a table. That's why this is not having much. So this is having the table, and I don't know what else it's showing, and the team. So the table and the team. So right now it's showing the table and the team. If I had more stuffs, as I have more stuffs here, you will see that this begins to grow larger and larger. It's keeping record of all the visuals, all the things on the report layer. So now what is interesting is that every change I make here, it will get stored here. So it's now going to the repo. I can see my commits, you see change logs. So all of that is nice. But then how do I get to also see them here on my local computer, you know? So let's see that. I'm going to close this. I don't need to save it, I've already. So that takes us to the third tool. I said 3 tools. Power BI service, we have configured Power BI service. Azure repo, we have configured Azure repo, right? There's one more tool, GitHub desktop. So you will, if you don't have it installed, you will have to, go on your browser, search for GitHub desktop, and then you will download and install it. So I am not going to re-download it. I have already downloaded and installed it. So I'm just going to open it. GitHub. GitHub desktop. Okay. So once you open it, right? Remember I said I've done multiple of these demos. So I'm going to delete. I'm going to delete them so that repository settings. I want to delete. So I'm going to remove this. Repository remove. So remove this. Yeah. So I'm going to remove it. One of the files is open. I'm going to do that again. Remove. Can go and delete whatever is inside myself. Try again. Let me just check what I have that is probably open. Did I open a Visual Studio during the other demo? Oh yes, I opened Visual Studio. So I'm going to close it. Try again. Okay, so that I think that was the thing that was good. So I'm going to show you how to do this from scratch. Okay. So what we want to do is, as you know, we have a repo we've created called demo. This is the one we are using, right? So I want to, when you install GitHub desktop, you're not going to even have this view. Okay? This view that I have is because I already have some repo. So this one is my work office, my live one. So I'm not going to touch this. And if I go there, I will see a lot of history, of all the many, many things I've done recently. But no, when you do this, you're going to have a view that is like this. That will be like, you need to add a repo. You don't have anything. You need to add a repo. This is the first set of view you will get. You're not going to get, it will be like empty, and then you will get something that will point you in this direction that you need to clone a repo because you don't have a repo, except if you already have a repo on your computer before. But I'm guessing, if you are purely a Power BI person, you probably have not been using GitHub desktop, and when you install it for the first time, it's going to bring you to this view. So you can clone a repo from your github.com account. Unfortunately, this is not possible for Power BI. Power BI does not handshake for now with github.com. So you can't use this. For now, you can only use, like I told us, you can only use a dev.azure, you can only use Azure DevOps. So that's the only one you can use, okay? So, which means you can't use GitHub Enterprise. GitHub Enterprise is the paid version, is this GitHub but for company. So you can't use this too. That means you are left with, if we are used to answering multiple choice question, if this is not the answer, if this is not the answer, then obviously this must be the answer, right? So yes, this is the only way you can connect to Azure DevOps within GitHub uh, desktop. Okay. As for the steps, let me see if yeah, this is the steps. I'm going to paste it in the chat box. Connecting your Azure repo to GitHub desktop. So this is the step, but I'm going to do it. You don't have to, but when you're doing it, you probably want to follow this direct. Luckily, they put a lot of screenshot, makes life easy. But I've done it like maybe 5, 6 times. I know the steps by heart. So let's do it together. So you come here, then what you will do is you go to your your repo. So you make sure you are in the very one I want to use. I want to use demo. So when you are there, you copy the URL you see here. You copy it, right click and copy, or Control C. Then you come here, you paste it. So when you paste it, right, you come to before the dev, you put your username. My username is Mike. So your username will be like somebody at a company.com. So it will be that somebody before the at that is your username. So in my own case, it is Mike at MHS Analytics. If you look at my account, this is Mike at. Okay. So in that case, I'm only putting Mike at. And that's it. You can control, you can specify somewhere different. I'm going to leave it as this. This is your local PC. So this will be where it will save you see what we're saying is cloning the repo. So this will be the local copy for you. This is the remote, one. So I'm going to go ahead and say clone. So it's going to be like, in your own case, for the first time you are doing this, it's going to ask you for a secret key. So I think it has saved it in his memory. Let me see if there's a way I can remove it completely. Okay. Well, like I said, just follow the steps in the link I shared. It's not difficult. When you do it for the first time, it will bring you to this. It will tell you that, authentication failed. Enter your username and password. But for the password, it expects you to enter a secret key. That secret key is personal access token. So you need to come here and generate a personal access token. I did this today in the class I did 2 hours ago. So that's why, for me, I think it saved it in its memory. Otherwise, it will have asked me to generate a new token. You give it, demo 2 or whatever name you want to give it. I did full access. Then once I click create, I will see the token. Then what will happen is, what I did now, when I specify the URL, once I click submit, right, it will bring me to enter my username and the password. Your username will be your email at your company.com, and then password will now be this, if I click create, it will create it, but I don't want to create things I'm not going to use. So you will see the token, and then you will paste it. So it's not your password that will be here, to be the token that you paste here. So that's the only thing I did that it has remembered. So it's not asking me to do it now. So right now it will show that yes, I now have the demo repository, and it noticed that I have only one branch, right? So I will tell it to sync. So it's syncing, it's refreshing. So what has happened is it has pulled that what I published 11 minutes ago, right? So if I go to the folder, you will see that the folder has been recreated. See the time, 1:34. I'm actually 5 hours behind Nigeria. So this was just like 2 minutes ago. See, now I have all of those things. Okay. So now how do we use this? So that's the interesting part. From now on, right, I should not come here and start looking for the PBIX file, and trying to open the .pbix file. No. From now on, anything I want to do, I'm going to go to the local repo, go to the report folder. Then I'm going to look for this file that says definition.pbir. So this is the file that launches the entire, nowadays when you download a software, you might see a small setup.config. It's very small, maybe 230 KB. You will now click it, it will now start a very giant process, or it will start to pull up all the other data. So that's the way this is set up. It's always 1 KB, but when you open it, it will launch Power BI. So this is what we call like a solution folder. I don't know if you have tried to save a new report in Power BI. You will notice that when you want to save, when you do save as, if you are the very perceptive person, you will notice that there's another option called project files. So this is that meaning. This is the meaning of the project files. There have always been this and been template, but there's a third one called project files. It is this project files that is the same representation of the reports that we are now seeing here. It will save it in this format where there will be like project files. Okay, so let me close this so that we can see the one I have opened. By now, the one I've opened will be open. So yes, it has opened, right? But what is happening is, let me just close it and reopen it. Let me close all of Power BI so that you will see. Okay, so Power BI closed, right? I come here. I'm going to open it. Then I'll wait for it. I won't press anything on my computer so that you will see what will happen. So it begins to open Power BI. Okay. So something that will always happen is it will tell you that it could not pull in any data. You see, I can see tables, but these tables will be empty. Why? The default. I'm going to show you the documentation for. Okay, great. So this is the folder for data sets. Documentation on the Power BI data sets folder. So I'm putting it in the chat box. So let's look at it together, right? You will notice that if I bring my own local one, let's go to the data set. Begin to see, check out what is, have you noticed something that is here in this their own listing that is not in my own? Have you noticed anything? Anybody wants to chime in, type it or say something? Have you noticed stuff that, that are here on this list that Power BI on their documentation, Microsoft documentation says, okay, these are all the things we find in dataset folder, and this is my own dataset folder, and I don't find them. Is there anything that you've noticed that is not in my own right now that is on this list? Okay. Diagram.layout. Okay, that's nice. Any other thing? Have you noticed any other one? Diagram layout.json. Awesome. So you see this entire folder, right? It's missing in my own. So now this one specifically, let's go to it. Catch, I think that's the right pronunciation, catch.abf. If I go to it, see what Microsoft says. So Microsoft says that, you see, it's a file containing the local cached copy of the model and data. It is ignored by default. It is ignored by Git. So that's why I don't have it, because I just synced Git, and it pulled in all of what we published into the repo, but it did not include it because it is ignored by Git. So what that means is every time that you make changes from the website, from the Power BI service side, and you pull in the changes, you will always see this thing telling you to refresh your data. So in my own case, I don't even have any data at all because it does not push the data from the service into the repo and back to me. So I will have to refresh, and that way it will now pull the data and I will see all of what we have created in the report. Okay, so now I have it. Okay, so let's now say, all right, I want to begin to make changes. I want to do interesting things to this stuff. So let me tell you what I did originally. Let's go to. So I looked at this. I grabbed sales header table. I grabbed sales order details. I grabbed salesperson, and I grabbed sales territory. I grabbed a couple of fields, a couple of tables that I could easily use to create some kind of a sales report. Okay, so right now this is sliced by region. Let's even delete everything and start afresh since I've explained what I have, right? So let's see. I have a table that shows region. Just happened. Okay, I was surprised. Okay, so I have a table that shows yeah, region. This is like continents. These are the regions, okay? Then I have another table that has the total sales amount, each sales order. What are the ship date, the due dates, let's see what order. Do I have quantity? Okay, I don't have quantity. I think that would be in the order, sales order details. So what I have is just the total amount. Okay, so good. Let's go check this other one. Sales order details. So this one will probably have the line by line items. So this one has the order quantity, product ID. Let's see what product ID is connected to. Product ID. So if I have product ID, what can I get? Is there a table of product names? So with product ID, I can get the product name. Awesome. I can get the product name. Product ID to product name. Perfect. So I'll go grab the product table. So maybe we'll just do something more interesting with those. So I'm going to go into transform. I'm going to, I think I have the data. I have the Azure blob storage. You know what? I'm going to do a kind of cheating. Since I know the pattern of the names, I'm going to duplicate this. Then what we want to grab is what? We want to grab product. So it's called production dot products. So I'm going to come here and say I want to grab production dot products. I'm also going to grab that as the full name for the table. Okay, so that works. That makes my life easy. Okay, it says I'm not supposed to put a dot. Let's do it that way, space. Okay, so I think with this now, we can be able to do something a bit richer than what was there before, right? So let me just, and I think I need to ensure that there's a relationship between product and, oh, it has created it from product and, okay, perfect. So let's see, if you are the owner of this business, let's create a text box and call it Adventure Works Global Sales Report. I'm going to make this really big in size, make it centralized, make it bold. So that's nice. We'll add We will add so let's add a slicer. I'm going to come here. I'm looking for slicer. They moved the position on me because I've zoomed my screen. Yeah, this is it. Okay, so no. Just need this part to. Oh, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to drag. Let's do my very quick stuff. So I'm going to put dates from the sales header. I'm going to put the dates. I should have a date table, right? Let's create a date table. New date table equals to calendar mean of let's use the order dates, mean of order dates. This order date. I thought I saw it, order date. And then I'm going to do likewise, but to be max on the other end. Oh, I need to hurry up with this so that we even focus on the main thing. I just want to be sure that my relationships will work well so that I don't go and pick something from a table that cannot talk to the other one. So let's just add the relationship to ensure that the date table controls sales header and it controls the other dates. So I'm going to use the date table here. I'm going to mark this as date table. Mark as date table. Okay. Okay, good. So let's just leave that there. Then I'm going to put another slicer that will be region. Or region. Slicer. So I'm going to make it the type that lists. So region was what? I think region was group. Yes. Okay, great. So this would be like continents or region. Then we'll do another that will be territory. So you can see that we are kind of now really building the reports. So I'll do another one to be territory. Territory is name here. Okay, so territory. Okay, so let's stop at this for that. Then I'm going to put let's start with this. So I'm going to put a product. I thought we brought in product, right? Product name. And then the quantity sold, that is going to be in sales order details. Order quantity. I've mixed it up. Should be, let's see. Okay. All right, so let's do it this way. Then, not bad. Let's add the one that shows the money made, right? So as for money, I'm going to just put in let's do something that will be very, very obvious. So let's do a pie chart. I'm going to put the total due as value. Then I'm going to put the regions. So let's even push this up and see. This is a considerable change from what we have before, right? So all I need to do is save. No more publishing. No more like looking for publish what is even disabled, right? So all I need to do is save. Once I save, I go to the GitHub desktop, right? It will notice that I've made some changes, right? So I'll say, remade the sales report page. If I have time, I would say I added region, I added blah, blah. I don't have the time anymore. So I'm going to say commit to main. So once I do that, it will tell me, okay, I need to push back to the remote repository. So I'll say yes, push to origin. Okay. And with that I've done, if I go back here, right? If I go back to Power BI and I wait a bit, sometimes you need to help it. If you refresh, it might make things faster for you to detect. So after a while, it will detect that some see. So it's telling me that, oh, there are some changes that are already on the repo that are not reflecting here. So I'll say, okay, please update all my reports here to be in line with the changes. I can review the changes too. I can check what the changes were, but because I've already saved it, it's not going to show me. And I can also go here too. I can go here and see the notes, see if you guys have a rule for what to be published. Maybe there must be a peer review, or you publish to your own branch, another person gets to, merge it. Maybe there's a team leader who will only merge what is sure is working. This is it. This is like we are now proper developers. We are now Power BI developers. Okay. So yes, there will be the recording. So if I go to commit, you will see that it shows all of who did what did someone do. So it shows those logs, right? And more importantly, it's updating this. I probably will have to notify Microsoft about it. That it's always showing that, don't worry, everything actually worked. So if I open this report, right? Okay, so Bruno, you're saying that do we publish, are we going to share the recording? So yes, but we're not going to email it. So I'll give, if you wait till the end, I will share the YouTube link of where the recording will be. Okay, so now you see that this is it. This is what we did, right? Something looks off, right? This should have more records. Let me just go here. Let's refresh the data sets. But at least you see that I didn't need to hit publish again, right? Is that the way it is here? This had more records. Let me check this slicer. The refresh had an error. That error it should. That error is always. Oh, yes. This has an error. Oh, thanks. I didn't even know. So let's go check. Let's fix this. Settings. Let's show the details. Blah, blah, blah. Because one data source is missing credential. Okay. Let's enter the data source that is missing credential. What to privacy settings, organizational signing. That's not the signing. I have to log in with this one. Okay. No. Oh God. Let me calm down and remember which account I used. I think I used my cat. My cat. This is the account I used. Hold on. So I'm going to go here. thing's giving me too much headache. Let's see, did I use, I think, let's see if I use shared access, SAS token, Azure Data Lake. Sorry, please, let me just drag into get the key. I use Slack. I think I have the key in Slack. Get the key. Okay, so where's the token? Let's see. Oh, God. Thank God, at least I found the right key. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly do that across organizational. Okay, so I think if I go back and refresh, it should work. Okay, so let's refresh this. So I think it was the product part that was we had it. That it was me. So awesome, yeah. So now it's working. All right. So let's now do another thing, right? At least you've seen how we made a change on the local copy, and all we had to do was simply push via Git, and it was picked up directly. Was picked up here. Was picked up here, right? So let's do another thing, something that most of us don't do because we avoid it because it always sometimes breaks our reports, which is you come here on the Power BI service, you make a change. So let's do that. I'm going to come here and I'll create a completely new report page. I'm going to call it, well, let's see what I'll put inside first before I call it anything. We have product, we have, let's make a report that is by, I'm going to do a column chart. A column chart that is showing, okay, so I'll do a column chart and I will also do a tree map. I'll do something really different, So a column chart and a tree map. Okay, so I'm going to put in the tree map products. The product name and the quantity so that we'll see the products that sold the most by quantity. It's usually not very useful except we've normalized quantity to something else, but I'm looking for, sorry, other details. Order quantity. Makes no sense. I'm going to remove it. Let's put maybe by, am I able to link it to by person? Not sure I did that part, but let me just add something that will not show in that annoying way. That one don't makes no sense. So I'm going to add money we made, sales amount. So region sales amount. So we'll see the region that gave us the most money. I'm going to add data label. Okay, so we see the amount. Okay, good. Then here, I'm going to let me change this to a pie and just add group and the same amount total to. So we see, let me also add that the data label should show also show all details. Okay, great. I don't care too much about the design right now. So let's just say we are showing regional sales report. Okay. So what have I done? I have created a totally new report that was not existing. So I'm going to just save. Come here, click save. And I'm doing this right on the Power BI service. Currently, with the way we use Power BI, PBIX file, nobody will do this approach because it means you'll have to come here and download the local copy for you to be able to continue. Otherwise, there will be a conflict between what you have here and what you have on your local copy, right? So how are we going to use this and not experience a conflict? Once you save, if I save, go to reading view. The moment I go back to my Power BI workspace, it will detect it. Remember, sometimes you need to help it by refreshing, but it will detect that I have made changes here that have not been submitted to the repo. So I've made changes that are not here, that are just in this place. So what it's telling me is I have uncommitted changes. And then I will say, okay, let's commit the changes. Added a region sales page. And then I commit the change. So the moment I commit the change, what will happen is that it will go here. So here will be updated, but my local repo will not know. So I need to come here and tell it to go fetch from the remote. It will say, oh, it has noticed there is something there in the remote that I don't yet have. You know, a new timestamp, some changes. I will say pull the changes. So it will pull the changes. So the moment it pulls the changes, right? So for now, Microsoft says, I think they will work on it. We should be able to detect it also automatically, but they've not yet done that part. So you will need to close this, then open it again. So by the time you open it again, right, it will, let me go to, by the way, you notice that we now have the PBI file, so it has saved the cartridge. Once I refresh the saved data. So if I open this now, it will detect the new state of everything. It will reflect that new state of the report. So that's one thing I even when Microsoft was explaining this about 3 months ago, they said we have to remember to close, in case you still have it open, close it and reopen it. Then it will reflect the current state of everything. So let's see. You can see that automatically I have the region sales, region sales report. So because I didn't make any change on the data level, it didn't tell me to refresh. But if I had made changes on the data level, it will tell me to refresh the tables, So that's any question from anyone. So that's how you make a change. Let's do something interesting. Let me add a logo. So if I come in here and I add a logo, image, let me add my company logo. Yeah, I also agreed when I started doing this, and I was like, this is amazing. This is just like we are now a proper developer, this is the biggest separation of a Power BI person from Excel now, because this is something that companies want. They want, yeah, CI/CD, exactly. So I'm going to save this. Now I've put a logo, right? Then all I need to do is go to GitHub. It will detect that I've made stuff. So I'll say I've added a logo. I commit the change to my repo. I push it to sync back with the main branch. Now, what will happen is if I go to Power BI here, workspace, it might take some seconds. And if you want to help it, just refresh the workspace. See, there are unsynced commits from the Git. I'll say, okay, yes, please. So it has detected that there are some. I'll say, yes, update all. Okay. And then if I open this report, I will see the logo in there. This is the account I'm using. I don't know why it keeps telling me to log in. Microsoft can kill one with login prompts. Yeah, so see, the logo is showing. All right, so two things I want to draw our attention to. When you are doing this on your own, right, and you are starting with the workspace settings, right, and you do this thing, and when you set it up, and if it gives you an error, let me see if I can show you what the error looks like. Hold on, let me get the error. If it shows you an error, I will tell you what to do. Let me first get out what the error might look like. Oh, unfortunately, I did not save the error. I didn't save the error, but anyway, if it gives you an error and says, oh, it cannot, sync up with your repo, right? So it will tell you that something due to region, right? So what you need to do is go here, go to your admin portal, then go to tenant settings, scroll all the way down. You will see this thing that says users can export items to Git repositories in other geographical locations. So what has happened is by default, it is expecting that your account location should match your dev.azure location. What do I mean by location? When you create a new account, it will ask you to pick a location, to pick whether US or it's all these Azure specific things where your location will determine where the data center, where your data is hosted will be. So it's a big thing for Azure anyway. But for Power BI, most of us don't care. Like in my case, I don't even know what location my Power BI is hosted on. So when I did it on my work stuff, right, I was getting an error. So I had to come here and say enable, me to connect to Git repositories that are in other locations. So I had to do this for me to now be able to complete the configuration of the Git of the Git settings at this place, like in this workspace settings. For me to now do this that you saw me do easily now, I had to do that. So that's number one. Then number two is if you want to explore the project folders, very well, you have two places. You can come here and you explore them. You can make changes to things. Just be careful because, like, for instance, if I refresh this, the logo I added, if I go to report JSON and I search for logo MHS, see, this is that logo that I added, right? So if I have another image that I've saved somewhere, so I think static folder, shared resource, or registered there. See, this is that logo. I can come here and add another logo, right? But instead of me having to go back to Power BI and begin to put the logo, I will just add another logo in here. Maybe I'll call it new logo. Then I will simply come here and change this reference here to point to that logo, and that's, save it. So you can even use a text editor to begin to reconfigure things. Just be careful because in Microsoft documentation, let me take us there. In Microsoft documentation, where all of these project file folder contents are listed out, you will see that they advise that there are some things you should not change. So let's look for them. This does not support external editing. There are many of them, that they tell you not to edit them, because if you do, you can corrupt the entire report. So you want to first of all check that what you want to edit, are you allowed to edit them externally? If no, then please don't go and corrupt the whole report. So that's one. So if you want to now do this that I'm saying, if you want to do this, exploring the project folder and changing things, as you will have if you are a proper developer, you will now use Visual Studio Code. So Microsoft is recommending Visual Studio Code. Okay, so Visual Studio Code. If I open Visual Studio Code, so all you need to do is go to File, tell it to open a folder, browse to the folder of your repo, click Select Folder. Yeah, so it will show you all of what you have there, and you can even do source control from here. So it will show you change history, it will show you, commit graph to see. You can see that it's showing me all of what I've done before. I can see the changes, you yourself can begin to make changes. Just like I said, be careful so that you don't change what Microsoft is not yet allowed to be changed from the code side. So any questions, but this is it. For me, I think this is amazing. I think this is like we are now proper Power BI developers. So any questions from anyone? If you want me to unmute you, just raise your hand. If you want to comment, if you want to ask a question, if you want to make a contribution, maybe you've used it, you've seen other places use it, or you want to explain what you think this will make possible for all of us to have in mind. Yeah, please, I'm happy to hear us say something. Anybody? Just raise your hand and I will give you the ability to speak. Can we retrieve the old file? Okay, that's interesting. Let's try. So I think Sunil, right? Yeah, so Sunil says, can we revert back to an earlier state? Okay, so let's try that. So if I go to the commits, so let's say this is backwards, right? So can we go to this initial one? Can we like revert to this initial one, right? So I'm going to click revert. That's a lot of things I've done that will go off. But let's see. So if I revert to this, revert, this operation is to be performed locally. Okay, so let's go to my GitHub repo then. History. I'm going to revert changes in commit. Let's revert to this stage. Revert changes in commit. Okay. Did we change something here? Okay, let's push this. I don't know. I will just say don't know what I've changed here. Don't know. Yeah, let's see. So let's see. Push to origin. Maybe going to close this so that I'll be sure that then I go here, refresh. No, wait, I need to be sure I've pushed. Okay, I think I've pushed. So I'm going to refresh this one. Okay, so I'm going to go here. I'm going to update all. What workload? So Sunil has finally figured a way for us to break this thing. Unable to update from Git. Let's see. Let me go back here and go and check the files. Okay. Let's go to the pushes. Don't know, added a logo, remade the sales report. Let's go to this particular one. If I say revert to this. See again. Let's do it from here then. So come here, revert. I'm going to discard these changes. Let's first sync everything. That means we have to be really careful with reverting. Though actually, I know this thing is still in demo, like preview. But up until now, I was already thinking that there was nothing. I tried a lot. I was on a call with some people in my office for like 2 hours. They kept telling me, try this, delete this, and it was working. So Neil is the only one who has figured out something that will break it. So nobody told me to revert. So now I'm beginning to see that. And it could be that I'm the one not doing it correctly. Maybe I didn't sync. But anyway, revert is not supposed to be this difficult, right? Let's just see if everything is synced together. So I'm going to go back here. So I'm going to say, I want to revert to this particular place. So revert commit. Changes in commit to this branch. Or let's try create a branch from. Let's try this first, then I might. What's the push to origin? And always finding stuff. Let me say should ignore. Discard changes. Discard changes. Discard changes. Let's say I go back to logo. I think it will work actually. I think it has worked. Yeah, I think it has worked. So if I go here, if I refresh, able to view details. Wahala take. I'm going to do the last thing possible. Let me even see what is happening here. What this will show. Okay, so nothing has changed here. This one is broken. Yeah. So I think everything is not all completely fine. You have to be careful with reverting changes. Actually, this thing is still in preview. So I'm going to disconnect it. Right? Once I disconnect it, I'm going to I don't know if I should delete these reports. Let me delete them. Let's see what will happen. Delete. Then I'm going to connect this back. It's organization, this demo, main, connect and sync. So let's see what it will display. I'm hoping it should pick reports, right? So see, so it has picked the 2 reports that we have on the Git repo. Let's see if it will still make any complaints. Actually, this is broken. We have finally broken it. It's all. complaining about data set, I think. Might be the same password situation, right? It's complaining about reports. Power workload failed to import reports with ID. So I give up. So actually, it has problem with reverting changes. So, and it could be that I did it wrongly. So I will just have to go check. But any more questions? But thanks, Sunil. At least I found something that is not working perfectly. Because every other thing I tried has been working great. Except maybe I'm not supposed to be syncing directly with the main branch. I don't know. But that is not a problem. Syncing directly with main branch is because the advice not to sync with main branch directly is when you are working across teams, and I'm the only one, so I don't believe that's the reason. But I'll just I'll keep trying, and maybe it might just actually be a bug. I will also see if anybody in the MVP communities are aware. But thank you. Any other person has something? That's the end of my report. It is crashed completely now. I don't think it will even open anymore. Yeah, it's not opening anymore. That's nice. At least now I've seen something. I can keep checking on what to do about it. So if no more questions, right, I will share the link for the recording. So I know somebody asked for recording. If the person, Bruno is still in, we're gonna go grab the. Yes, thank you all for staying to the end. So I'm going to quickly go grab the details. Yeah. Okay, great. So the recording. The recording will be live by tomorrow. I'm putting it in the chat. And then please help with help fill the feedback form. I'm also posting that. And lastly, we are always in need of speakers, presenters. So it will be that you have a topic you want to present to us on. We will gladly consider. So thank you very, very much. I'm going to end this session now. Let me just check to be sure nobody's hand is up and I'm not noticing it. Okay. All right. So thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful week ahead. I'm going to end the session now. Thank you. Bye.